All right, welcome everyone to Google Docs Basics. And today we're going to be covering all kinds of different features in Google Docs and be practicing a whole bunch of different things. So we're grateful that you're all with us today. And the first thing I'd like to do is that anytime you're practicing with something you're learning, especially in Google, it's nice to be able to keep track of those things that you're practicing with. So here we are in the sandy.net Google Drive. And this one happens to be mine. You can see my little picture up there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to make a folder just for today because there's several things that we're going to be making in Google Docs. And so I want to keep track of all of those. And it's a good idea to organize your folders and all of that. And if you aren't that familiar with Google Drive and want to learn more, well, you can always go and watch the videos that we have on our Google training website about Google Drive and how to do that. But real quick, I'm just going to right click down here and I'm going to say new folder. And because my folders are in alphanumeric order, and that means from A to Z, but before that, the numbers, and then before the numbers are punctuation marks, I'm going to title today's folder with 4 dots, just like that to start off. I think that's 4. And then I'm just going to say today's folder. All right. And that's where I can keep all the things that I'm practicing with. If you're following along this video at home and want to make your own folder, of course, you can call it whatever you like. So I'm just going to do that. And you'll see that it shows right up here in the front because I have those 4 dots. And because it's in alphanumeric order, again, that's where it ends up. Then I'm just going to right click. And we're going to go ahead and change the color on this. Let's see. Oh, we've got red used already. We'll use another red. There we go. It's up there. It's easy to find. So I'm going to open this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want to open up a Google Doc so I can take a look at it. And so there's a couple ways I can do that. I can go up here to the new button, certainly, and then go find Google Docs here and then open up a blank document or go look for a template, or I can just right click over here and I can do the same thing. So I'm going to do it that way. And right now I just want a blank document. So here we are. And I'm going to change the way this appears a little bit. I think I'll make it a little bit bigger. Right now we're at 100%. You can see the outline of the page here, kind of white and a gray background. Let's get rid of that real quick. And something we'll be doing later. And let's try and make it maybe, I don't know, 125%, maybe a little bit bigger. All right. So first thing I want to talk about is the way that this is laid out. I love that Google has the quick access toolbar right below all of these drop-down menus that are here. We're going to take a look at these drop-down menus in a little bit, but the quick access toolbar is about 20, give or take, of the most common features that are used in Google Docs. And what's interesting is, depending on what you're working on, if you're working on a picture, you're working on a table, then these shortcut menu ID features here will change. And so we'll be seeing that today. Several different times that will start to change and different options are up there. But for right now, we're just in the general part of Google Docs. And so we have just their basic quick access toolbar, which is really slick. Now, every one of these features that you see here, every last one, and when we click on pictures or tables later and you see other features that show up here, they're all included somewhere in these drop-down menus. So just know that there's many more features, commands, buttons, drop-down menus, and whatnot that are available up here in the drop-down menus than will appear here on the quick access toolbar. But it's nice that they've taken some of them out of the drop-down menus and put them there for us to use. Okay, so before we start to look at what these different features are, let's take a look at something else. We have a Google Drive. That's kind of like our place where we can store all of our Google Sheets or Google Forms. We can even put Microsoft folders and files and whatnot in there. But you may or may not be aware that we actually have something called the Docs Home. And I'm just going to click on this real quick. All right. And here's the Docs Home. And so this one, again, belongs to me. This is my sandy.net Google domain account that I have. And so it says recent documents owned by me, and I have some options here: owned by anyone, not owned by me, different ways you can look at it, different ways to organize it here. And so here's some of the different documents that I've been working on, and they're all right here in my Docs home, which is a whole different place for where you can, or where things are stored or access them. And then up here, of course, we have if we want to start a new document, we can. And then we have some of the templates and other things that I have clicked on most recently, just sitting right up here. But if we want to see the entire template gallery, we just go up here and click on it. And now you can see we're in the template gallery. And so here's a section called education. So we've got these little templates here: essays, reports, class notes, book report, things like that. What are these? These are simply head starts to working on something, where they have it has been formatted and laid out to a certain way to kind of give us a head start. And so these are some that are in education. These are the ones by Google that they prepared here. And we can take a look at a couple. Here's a report. Let's just go ahead and click on that one. See our little ball spinning here. All right. So here we see where we can just immediately start typing in whatever it is we're going to add to this. There's a picture. We can click on it, and then we can see that our quick access toolbar here has changed to accommodate the different features for working with pictures. And then we can change that picture. And then, of course, we have the Latin words down here, which is just filler. And then we can go in and we can kind of change things around. So it's a little bit of a head start. It's got some cool little designs down here with a line on top, down by the headers and footers. And that's just one of the many different ones that we can take a look at. So let's see if we can get back to where we were. All right, so there's education. You go down a little bit further. Here's some letters. Maybe you need to write a business letter or some kind of a letter or something. Let's just go ahead and click on another one. And we'll just see that the way it's already formatted out. So in your department, maybe you would put your department name up there and your address, and you just add some stuff. And there it is. It's already got this cool looking things down at the bottom here. All of this and every one of these templates were created in Docs. So anything you see can be redone, or you can add to things and you can change the color. You can take this right here if you wanted to and change the color of that. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to save this. But it's pretty cool. You have all these different options here for templates. And we'll just scroll down a little bit further, just so there's like work, meeting notes, another newsletter, different things like that, sales, things that may or may not pertain to you, but they're certainly there. Now, again, this is in the template gallery under general, or stated differently, the ones that Google has provided. But look at this. Our Google administrator for the district has created a spot, San Diego Unified, where there's other templates that are here. And if you take a little bit of time to look at this, you'll see that most of this probably pertains to students. And I've been on here in one class in the morning and shared about the templates for San Diego Unified, came back in the afternoon, and half of them were gone. So there is a person, the administrator, who adds these things and takes them away. If for some reason in your department you decide that you need to have some templates available, you can contact the administrator and they can add them to this area. So these are available for everyone in the district to use if it's something that pertains to something that you're doing. And that's the whole nature of templates, which is pretty cool. So, all right, let's get back to where we were, back to our one here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to name this, and I can certainly click up here and I can name it, but I want to show you something that's kind of cool. I'm just going to type out, let's see, practice, let's see, oops. All right, practice document. I just typed that out real quick. And what's fun is if you just click up here, it usually takes the first word or words that you're typing. And when you click on it, it names it that. So you don't even have to create a name. I kind of like the name of that one, so that's good. And there we go. We can kind of look around and see some of the different things here. In fact, let's make this a little bit bigger for those of you watching this on the video, so it's a little easier to see. So just looking at the quick access toolbar that's right here, some of these features you may recognize. Something that I want to say real quick about Google Docs is that Google Docs is often compared to Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word is on order of about 100+ times more powerful than Google Docs. Why is that? Well, it's a huge program that's loaded on your computer's hard drive. And there you have all of these great tools and features, and you can do all kinds of things. Magazines, newspapers, big companies, corporations are using Microsoft Word because it's such a powerful tool to create their newsletters, their magazines or magazine articles, things like that. Can you do those same things in Google Docs? You can sort of do some of those things. It's certainly a word processor. You can do some formatting and change colors and make things bigger and add some pictures and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's just not as powerful, not by a long shot. But having said that, it keeps growing and becoming better all the time. And one of the reasons that Google Docs is not as powerful as Microsoft Word is because Google Docs resides up in the cloud, or stated differently, in the Google server farms. And so every movement of the mouse, every click of the mouse, every stroke of the keyboard is interfacing or going back and forth to the Google server farms through, in this case, our browser here, and it's being recorded. So you won't find anywhere over here where it says save. In fact, if I want to change something right here, let's see, practice document. I'm just going to change the word. Let's see, for today. If you look over to the right, when I hit enter, watch what happens here. I'm just going to hit enter. Wow, it happens so fast you didn't even see it. It was being saved. But as we're changing things in here and we're adding different things, every once in a while you'll see a period will say saving, and then boom, it's saved. And so that's pretty cool that you don't ever have to save it. It's automatically saved. And if something happens to your computer, doesn't matter, get another one, access your Google account, and you can find all of the stuff that you have with Google up in the cloud, and it's available for you. All right, so let's take a look here. Some of the basic features that you see along here are very similar, some of them named differently than what you'd find in Word. Of course, we have the undo and the redo. And so as when you hover over them, you get a little screen tip there. I've got my mouse kind of enlarged here to make it easier for demonstrations, but it's kind of hard to see. But underneath there, it says undo, and it even shows you the keyboard shortcut, Control-Z. And so if you're not sure what one of these are, you can hover over it. It's going to tell you what it is. That one's paint format. What's it called in Word? Format Painter. Yeah, they had to change it because it's proprietary. And so you can just kind of look around and see, spell check. That's pretty cool. Normal text. This is something we might do later regarding the different headings. If we have time at the end, here we've got fonts. And what's interesting is they have pretty much all the same fonts that are available in Microsoft Word are available in Google. But because Microsoft owns some of those fonts, Google had to change the names of them. So here's an example of one that I've used in this little recent section here, Lobster. I don't know what it's called in Microsoft Word. I've never seen one called Lobster before, but I'll guarantee you there's something very similar to that. So as you look around and kind of scroll through all the different options here, just know that most of the ones that you can find in Microsoft Word, you can find here. And so we can change whatever we're working on. I'm going to hit that a couple times. When we're working with things, you can drag across to select something like that. That's one way to do it. Another way is to just double click on it and it will select an entire word. Or if you triple click, it'll do an entire sentence or paragraph. Another way to do it is to come over to the little side here in the margin, and you can do kind of the same thing. So just little tricks on how to select something. So there it is. I'm going to go ahead and just change this one, and let's see if we can find something interesting. How about impact? There we go. Let's make it a little bit larger, make it bigger like that. So how about we change the color real quick? So here's the color options. Right now it's black. That's why there's a black line there. If we were in Microsoft Word, we'd have the preview option, which means we just hover over any of these colors and we would see this change. We don't get to do that on this program because it's not as powerful, but we certainly have a lot of colors. And if we want to find more, we can go select some custom colors. I'm just going to change this to make it red for right now so it stands out. Of course, we've got bold and italic and underline. We can highlight it if we want to with, whatever color we want to in the background. Oh, forgot to select it. Let's do that. Let's make it yellow in the background. All right, that's pretty bright. And then we have some other things here that we'll have a chance to look at in a little bit when we start to deal with it, to practice with one of our practice documents we're going to open up in just a minute. There's for links, there's where we can insert images, and then of course how to align it, the spacing between it. And so it really just comes down to taking a little bit of time, and with any new program, just kind of poke around, hover over things and see what they say. All right, and just real quick before we leave this document, which we're just here to kind of see the general layout, yeah, become familiar with these different menu items that are here. And whenever you see a arrow on the right, that means that there's a little drop down or a little pop out menu that goes to the side. And sometimes, depending on what we're looking at, we might see something that is grayed out, like if it says cut and copy. Certainly we can do that in this program, but we can't cut anything or copy it until we select it. So then we'd have to select something. And then of course, now it's no longer grayed out. So keep that in mind. Again, here's all of our little keyboard shortcuts and all of the different options that are there. So it's just a matter of spending some time and learning where things are and becoming familiar with it. And we're going to look at most of these today as we continue forward. Here's all of our different formatting, all the different things we can do with our text, paragraph, the styles. That was something we were talking about before, and all kinds of different things that we can take a look at. And then of course, here's some things that are grayed out because they're not in play at this point. So take some time, practice, look around, poke around at some things, try some things. Don't take a shared document from your department and practice on that, because you may have some difficulty getting it back to the way it was before. Having said that, one of the most amazing things about working in the cloud and having everything that we do be recorded, the time that it was done, all of that we made a change on the document, all being recorded up in the Google server farms, is that we can have a version history that we can look at. And so if we go here to this one here, and it says version history. So if we want, we could name this version if we're trying to do that, because we're working through a project day after day or something. We can name different versions, or we can just click on it and say, see the version history. And since this just started, we don't have a whole lot of history. And so I thought it would be fun at this point to just show you just how detailed that can be. And so up here, I have my calendar. And this is a calendar. Let's see, I go up here, back to September where we are. All right, so this is a calendar that I've been working on for over 1.5 years. And of course, there's a lot of different versions to this. So let's take a look. And so we go down here to version history. Let's see version history. And this will be quite amazing as soon as it pops up. Oh dear. Sorry about that. Had an alarm go off. All right. So here we have from today. And again, this is for this document. This is my training calendar. This is where all of our classes are. And again, if I want to go down and see all the different classes down there, I can scroll this way. But here's all the versions for today and yesterday and the day before. And it keeps going back and back. There's back in July and May. And if I want to see what something looks like back at that time, I can just click on it and it will show. And if this is what I want to go back to, I can hit the restore to this version. And guess what? That's going to become the current version. That's pretty cool. And it will be recorded in our version history here. So if for some reason you want to change back to a different one, we can. Well, let's scroll up here, and I'm just going to show you the last couple of days. I've been working pretty hard trying to get all my classes loaded up. So if I pick on Monday, what was I doing about 1:05 p.m.? I'm going to go down here to the current section down here in September. You'll see that it looks like I have some classes in here, but actually the wrong dates are in here. And this is just something I had copied and pasted on there, trying to get started. And none of these are actual links taking us to the right spot. It's just things that I had copied and pasted, trying to get ready. And if you go look up here at yesterday, I was working hard and I started to add more, or let's take a look real quick, but just showing you how detailed this is. So here we see that I have put the classes in there. I've made decisions on it, but I haven't set up the links yet. So you can't click on this and then register for the class. And so that would be true of a good portion of this. I had done the advanced Excel ones and the advanced Word ones. By this point, what point are we talking about? Right here at 10:40 a.m. What did it look like at 9:07? I could click there. Let's take a look over here. So if I want to restore this version, same as doing this over here, I could name this a version if I want. I could make a copy of this and have a totally separate calendar if I'd like. So that's pretty amazing that you can do that. And then of course, last night, we'll just go here. I finished this somewhere around 9 o'clock or so. And if I go down, then you will see that here we go, November 21. So now I have all of the links that have been set up in this, and there you go. So the version histories are quite powerful and it's quite extensive, and depending on what document you have, and it doesn't matter if this is a document that's shared with a bunch of people, mine's shared with the entire district as far as viewing, and a few other people's for editing, and all of that history is available there. That's pretty cool. So just be aware of that. We'll go back to here. You can see, since I sent out my blast this morning about all the new 64 classes that are available, there's some people that are looking at it and signing up for classes as we speak. So how did we get to that? Well, that's just by going to the version history and taking a look at it. That's pretty slick stuff. All right. So as far as we're concerned with this one, we're done with this one for right now. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of it and have it go away. And of course, here it is. And we can see a little picture of it in my today's folder. At this point, I want to upload another picture that, or another file that I have, which is actually a Microsoft Word file. That is one that has a bunch of words on it, so we can start to practice with all of these different features. So I have mine stored down here, and it's the formatting and editing. And I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and let's just take a look at it real quick. Okay, I grabbed the wrong spot. This is actually the Word version. You can see it has a header, formatting and editing, sample sentences, different lengths of paragraphs, so on and so forth. And it's give or take 8 or 12 pages long. In fact, you can see down here it says 8 pages. This is what it looks like in Microsoft Word. And so since we're here and we want to upload it, I'll just right click and say upload a file. And I can actually do a couple at the same time here. I'm just going to select this one. Is one we'll be working on a little bit later. I'm going to hold down the control key so I can select another one. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the this waiver one, which happens to be a PDF. And we're going to bring all of those in. And it takes just a few seconds. They show up here. And the first one we're going to look at is the formatting and editing. Now, because in settings, I did not select the box, I guess we could take a look at that real quick. The one here, it says convert uploads to Google Docs editor format. I did not select that. So that means that they come in as a Microsoft Word or an Adobe PDF file. And that's the way I like it, so I can have the original. But we're going to go ahead and open this, and we're going to turn it into a 100% Google Docs. And when we do that, we just need to pay attention to something as it does it. So we can see we're clearly in Google Docs with the quick access toolbar, the drop-down menus that they have there. But if we notice that there's an extension on there telling us that this is in fact still a Microsoft Word document. And yes, I can come in here if I want to, and I can start selecting things, and I can start changing the color and doing all that. I can do that, and it's still a Microsoft Word document being edited or formatted in Google Docs. Just know that Google and Microsoft sometimes don't play well together, and whereas Google is allowing you to be able to change this Word document, weird things can happen where some of your edits, some of your formatting might change or disappear or things like that. And so we want to make this into a 100% Google Doc. And to do that, all we have to do is just go over here to the file and say save as a Google Doc. And you'll see it's opened up a new tab there. Here's the one we were in. It has the extension showing us it's Microsoft. And here's the new one that just opened it up. no extension, and it looks exactly the same because Google's really good about their optical character recognition and bringing in all kinds of things and making it into a Google Doc to look like the original. So with this one, we now have the opportunity to practice with a whole bunch of different things. And one of the first things I want to do is I'm going to go down to the bottom of this. And by the way, just so you know, there's some fast ways to get to the bottom of things. If you hold down the control key and over by your up, down, left, right arrows, there's an end, like end of a movie, END. Hold down control, tap the end key, and it takes you to the bottom. As you can see, we're down here at page 8 of 8. This is the last one. There's no more. And if you want to get back up to the top real fast, you can always do control home, H-O-M-E, and it will take you back up to the top. But for our purposes, I'm going to go down to the end right now, just to have a little bit more room. Got my cursor there. I'm going to hit enter a couple times, and so I can have a fresh new page right here. So what I wanted to share with you is one of the slickest things that Google has, and it works really well. And it's a tool called voice typing. And so I'm going to select that. And so over here, we've got this little microphone icon, and all we have to do is click on it, and then everything we say will be recorded right over here. And it works very quickly. But to know how to use this, we wanted to just go somewhere and Google how do you use voice typing in Google Docs. And it will take you, let's see where to go. Here it is, to the Google support pages, and it gives you some instructions on how to do it. And it's pretty cool. So if you want to add punctuation, for example, you start talking and you say, you know, the cow is in the field, period. These are the different commands that you can say. And again, you have to speak clearly. And sometimes I struggle with that. But these are the ones that will show up. And then there's other voice commands. If you want to select text, you could say things like select, you know, word or phrase, select all. It takes a little bit of practice to do this. Select line, select next line, select last line, all kinds of things that you can do. And then all kinds of formatting commands. You can do bold, italicize, italics, strike through, title case, all kinds of stuff. So again, if you're interested in this, just go to the Google support pages for voice typing, and there you go. So let's go back to our document here, and actually it's this one here. I'm actually going to get rid of this one just from our browser anyway. So here we are. I got my microphone in front of me, and let's see if we can do something and watch how well it does. Once there was a little brown rabbit named Peter, period. He had a friend named Bud, period. The two of them ran up the top of the grassy hill to the oak tree, period. New paragraph. After a while, comma, they decided that they wanted to go for a swim in the pond nearby, period. So, comma, they raced each other as quickly as they could down to the pond, period. They jumped in and swam for hours and hours, ... Select all. Bold. Italic. All right. So here we go. It did it, and it did it pretty well, and it can go very quickly. And so the more you practice with this, the better at it you can get. And just know that if there's some parts where it's a little confused, it has like this underline, so it gives you some options. Oh, I clicked on that. So it takes a little bit of practice. It still thinks I'm talking for some reason. That's what's going on. I apologize. I thought it was turned off. It was not. Apparently it's pretty sensitive. So I kind of messed that one up. But if you come over here and you click on one that, let's see, if you right click, so it could say, did you mean could go down? So they could, yep, that would be right. So could go down. So now it's changed it. So after a while, let's see how it wants to change it. Oh yeah, see, I spelled that wrong. And so you can take a look at these different things, right click on it, and it will fix different things that are there. And interesting, oak tree. Okay, for some reason I wanted to change it to that. But as you can see, it works very quickly, and you can add all kinds of stuff. And so if I selected all this and then could say change font size to 14 or 15. I could start changing stuff, change the font color, all of that, but it takes some practice to do that. So that's kind of fun. And I wanted you to know about that tool that's available to you right there. Now, real quick, we are in a Google Chrome browser, all right? Anytime you're using Google, always use Google Chrome. Why? Because if we were in Firefox or Internet Explorer, which no one uses anymore, but anything other than Google Chrome, you'll click you could open up this and click on the little tools or whatever, and you won't see voice typing there because it only works in the Google Chrome. And that's the case for many of the different features. They will work in Chrome, but they don't necessarily work in other browsers. So keep that in mind. All right, let's go back up to the top. Let's go to do Control Home, and it'll take us back up there. All right, so again, we talked about if I want to select something because I want to format it. First of all, what's the difference between formatting and editing? Real quick, formatting is changing the way something appears, the color, the size, the font, things like that. Editing is adding sentences or words or paragraphs or taking things out, stuff like that. So formatting and editing, little tip there. So I can either, to format Microsoft Word here, I can drag across and select it. Or if I want to just do a single word, I can double click on it. If I want to do the entire line, I can triple click 1, 2, 3. And by the way, that works in an entire paragraph. No matter how big the paragraph is, it works that way. If I want to, I can drag down. I'm like left clicking and dragging down. I can select as much as I want. And then wherever I let go, that's what it will take. And so those are just a couple of different tricks to do that. Sometimes you'll notice though, we try to, get in there just right and oh, that didn't work. A little bit, nope, not quite there. There's a couple other tricks that you could do, and this works in Microsoft Word as well. You can simply start off with something, let's say you're right there. Now above your control key is the shift key. If you hold down your shift key with something selected, this works wherever your cursor is. I have something selected, but I could certainly do it like this. Hold down the shift key and you have your up, down, right, left arrows. Every tap of the right arrow selects something. Oh, if you went too far, then you could do the left arrow and go back. So if you're struggling, you're trying to select something and it selects too much, just let go of your mouse, hold down, in this case, the shift key, and then do the left arrow one at a time. And it went too far, then the right arrow, you can get it back. So that's another way that you can do a more finite selection of something. And that comes in handy if you've got a lot of things opened up on your screen and you're working in a very small document to save space, and it's hard to get your mouse in there. You can certainly use that. So again, looking up here at the quick access toolbar, all kinds of things we can do. We can quickly change this. I'm just going to pick one. How about lobster? That looks a little different. Make the size a little bit different so it stands out a bit. We'll make it bold. Looks like it already was bold. Make it italicized. It was already italicized. I guess that whole thing is italicized. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, heads up. When I was doing the voice typing before, I said select all. And here I was thinking I was on a clean sheet. Actually, we have in this case, a 9-page document now, and all of it was selected and all of it was made bold and all of it was made italics. So let's fix that. What's the fastest way to fix it? Get it back to normal? Well, we can use a keyboard shortcut. You just do Control A, and that will select everything, all 9 pages of it. So let's get rid of that real quick. We just deselect bold, deselect italicized. There we go. Now we're back to where we were. Okay, so as we have this selected here, we changed it, the font, we changed the size, bold, italic. Let's change the color, make it red. That's pretty cool. And we've made it stand out. We've done some formatting features. So if we decide we want to come down here to say this word sentence here, we could double click on it. If I want to make it the same as this one up here, I'd have to remember which font I used. I'd have to remember what size and the other features that I used. And so they've created a tool that helps us do that. And it's right over here. It's called Paint Format. And so with my cursor placed here, I can go over and tap Paint Format. We see now it's in play. There's a little bluish gray box around it. And come over here and click on this word. And it instantly transfers it. But if I click on any other words, it doesn't transfer anymore. But let me put the cursor back there, and this time I can double click. And by the way, when I said that Google's always trying to catch up to Microsoft Word, it used to be that they didn't have this double click feature in Paint format, but then they added it about 2 years ago. So we're grateful that they keep adding things. So because my cursor's here, I want to basically absorb all the different, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different formatting features that I've done. And so I just go over here and I double click on it. And now I can click on any word that I want to, or a couple of words dragging like that, or I can click on the side like this and drag around as many as I want to, and start to make all kinds of changes. And it keeps doing it as long as this is in play. How do you stop it? I can either hit the escape key, top left side of your keypad, or your keyboard, or just go back and select it like that, or deselect it rather, and it turns off that feature. All right, so at this point, I've made a pretty big mess of this, changing things too much. So one of the quick things that I can do is I can do the undo button, and just in the same order but reverse of all the different changes that I made, I can go back and undo all of those. If I've gone too far, I can just go to the next button, which is the redo button. And again, I can go back and forth like that. But just for fun, I'm going to add a few more things here. All right, so there's another way that we can do this. If I go over here and I just drag down, left click, hold the mouse and drag down and select all of that, then the very last feature right here is clear formatting. So that's another way to do it. And it's important to remember that, because you can't always go back in the order of things you were doing, because what if I made that mess yesterday and I've done an hour's worth of work today? I certainly can't go back and undo all of those things without doing everything that I was working on today. So that's a way that you can do it with the clear formatting. That's pretty cool. All right, so let's look at a couple of other things here. I think we're going to do this one next, because this is pretty slick. So I'm going to go ahead and put my cursor here, and I'm just going to give myself some space, and I'm going to type in SDUSD. Now that's an acronym that stands for something, and since you're all part of the district, it's probably familiar to you. Well, guess what? Everything's familiar to Google too. And so in this next thing that we're going to do, in fact, let's just make this a little bit bigger. I'll make it bold, make it a little bit bigger so it stands out, and that looks pretty good. But this feature right here is insert a link. And so I'm going to do this. Now this works better in Google than it ever has in Word. So this is one of the ways, or one of the things that Google does way better than Microsoft. And it has to do with the Google search engine. So first of all, the link, it says, okay, if you have a link, you can copy and then paste it right here. Is it one of these things? It's throwing up some different suggestions. But look down here. There is the web address to San Diego Unified. And well, guess what? That's exactly what I was interested in. So there it is. It's done. You won't be able to do that in Word. That's pretty cool. And so now that it's there, all we have to do is just click on it, click on this, and you'll see a new window opens up in the browser, a new tab. And there it is, our San Diego Unified. Look at that cute little guy. All right. And so let's go ahead and get back to where we were. And so just that quick, we can do it. So one thing I wanted to share with you is that when you come to any of our classes, I always talk about right click, left click, double click, triple click, different things that you click on, different things will happen. Well, we already talked about the double click that selects just a single word. If you triple click, it'll do an entire paragraph, just like triple click down here does all of that one. But if I right click, I see all these different menus, a little shortcut menu, if you will. So cut, copy, paste, those are grayed out because we have nothing selected at this point. But several different options that are there, including making a link. So we didn't have to go up here to use the link. We could do it right there. And then there's clear formatting. So we didn't have to go over and use that one either. We could simply just right click on whatever it is we're working on, and there it is. But I just wanted to show you that if I right click on this link, you'll notice that our shortcut menu has expanded. So now we have open link, copy the URL, or remove a link. And so this right-click shortcut menu will change depending on what we're working at different times. So that's pretty cool. Let's take a look here. So I put my cursor anywhere in this paragraph, and then I can start to use some of these tools. So right now we can see with the gray-blue box, we are left aligned. And if we want it to be centered, we could click that one, right justified, or kind of like the newspaper where it spreads out the words just enough where you have a line on both sides. That's pretty cool. Let's go down to a longer one here and try that down there. So you can see it works all the way to the very last line. So that's pretty cool. So those are pretty straightforward and pretty simple. Going back to, let's do this one right here. Again, I got my cursor here. So this has to do with spacing. So if I click on that, we can do single spacing, which is what it is already. 1.15, 1.5, double, make a custom one. And again, if we were in Word, every time we hovered over one of these options, we would see this change. But here we have to commit to it. Okay, so there's 1.5. We go back up there again, we can see the check mark in front of 1.5. We could try and double and go that way and try and make a decision as to what we want to do. And so it just takes a little bit of poking around to see which size you want. But certainly we have lots of options that are there. Let's take a look at this. So here I'll put my cursor here. So I have a couple of paragraphs above and below, and you can see there's like a single space like in between the paragraph above and the one below. Well, if you go back over here, it says add space before the paragraph. If I select that, watch what happens down here to the space above it. So add a space. Okay, a little bit of space, not too much. Let's try another one. How about one afterwards? All right. Oh, let's see. So add space after. There we go. It separated it out. Sometimes weird things happen with Google. And so you have a bunch of different options with that. You can also do custom spacing where you can say, okay, maybe we want, instead of 10 points before, we might want 30 points. So we can change that. And then after, maybe we want 20 points, something like that. We say apply. So now this is 30 points above and here's 20 points down below. And we can still go back up here and we could say remove space after and get it back to where it was. And holy cow, we have all kinds of different options to do with this little feature that's right here. And then some other options that you can play around with and practice with. So again, just moving along here, let's find another spot here. I'm going to make a little bit of space and go back up. And right now I'm going to just type out a few words. So I'm going to go red, enter, and we'll say black, and then enter, and we'll say brown, and enter, and then I'm going to do yellow. All right. So right now I've sort of made a list of some colors. And at this point, if I want to turn it into a list, all I have to do is select it just like this. Hold on one moment. There we go. And now that it's selected, I can try some of these other features that are up here. And this is one that showed up a while ago. It's kind of cool, a little checklist. So you click on that, and there you go. And so you have these little check boxes that you can use in whatever it is you're making. That's pretty slick, but those are kind of close together. So maybe we can go use our little features here and maybe make it 1.5, kind of spread them out. There you go. And if we want to change the alignment, we can certainly use all these different features. We can make it bold, change the color, the size, the font, all of those different things. But while we have this selected here, let's take a look at this next one. And it says bullet list. So it's just that quick, we can change it to a bullet list. And then of course we have all kinds of bullets that are available to us right here. And of course there's another one for a checklist, that's kind of cool. And then let's just go ahead and select that one just for fun. And then the next one of course is a number list. We can go to there. And of course there's other number lists that are available. Let's look at this one with some Roman numerals. All right, so now that we've made some changes to this, and we can change it back and forth all we want, we can do some things. Let's go ahead and change the color. How about we make it this bright blue? Well, that's kind of interesting. if we want to, we can actually go over here and we can click. Let's try, I gotta do it. It's kind of small here. Click on it. And now if we want to change the way that this looks, then we can go up here and we can pick another color. I'll pick red just for fun. So there we go. Now, a couple of just basics here. So to do all these changes, I had to select them all. Of course, it's the only way I'm going to be able to change this back into a checkbox or a bulleted list. We'll keep it at bulleted right now. You notice that the coloring stayed the same. That's pretty cool. So I want to put my cursor here. And let's see, if you've ever been to the Office Depot or whatever, you're looking for printer paper, you know there's not just one colored yellow. There's many colors. There's neon, there's bright yellow, there's pastel, there's all of that. So if I were making a list of paper colors, for example, and I wanted to put the subsection underneath yellow, if I hit enter, it thinks I'm still trying to go straight forward. Isn't that nice? It made it blue. I'll have to go back and change that later. But if I hit enter, it goes there, and I actually want a subsection of yellow. So all I have to do is click one time the tab key. It's the one above your cap locks on the left. And so if I tab it one time, it pushes it over right there. So now I can type out some of the other ones. So how about bright? That was a type of yellow. How about neon? That was another one. And how about pastel? All right. So now I have my little 3 subcategories of yellow. But let's say I want to add another color to my main list. If I hit enter, it's going to keep going down right there. If I hit the tab key, it's going to go to the right. But all I have to do is hit the enter key and hit it one more time, and it goes to the left. So remember, tab key goes to the right, and hitting the enter key or the return key makes it go to the left. All right, so now that I'm back here, I can do another color. What are we missing here? How about blue, just for fun? All right, and so that's the end of my list. But of course, it throws up another one. So I just have to enter one more time, and it ends it right there. So now I can select all of these all the way down. I can go back and I can change it to black if I want to. And of course, if I want to come back and change some colors just with this one, I can select that, call those red, maybe these. Make these blue again. How about that dark blue, something like that. So if you want to, you can change the actual color of the words one at a time and just doing it that way. And since it's selected, I can use some of my other features, make it bold. So you have all the different options that you can work with doing that. And of course, if you want the bullet to go back to the color it was before, just simply go back and do that. So there's a little bit of playing with it to get it used to how it works, but those are the fundamentals. Remember tab key, and remember the enter key to go back and forth. And when they're all selected, you can then go between the different options that are there and in the different versions, of course, to see how that's going to look. So those are the fundamentals of making a list, and that's pretty cool. At this point, I want to share something with you that's pretty slick. And if we go up here to the insert section here, about halfway down, it says special characters. Now I want to do a special character, so let's see what we can do here. So I'm going to get this little dialog box here and take a look at that for a moment, all of those characters that we see. All right, so at this moment, we are in the category of symbol. And what symbols? We are looking at a bunch of different arrows. How many are there? Quite a few. Some crazy ones. Some that are from old ancient scripts or something like that, all kinds of stuff. What other symbols do we have? Well, let's see. How about currency? There's a whole bunch of different currency. There's a yen, there's a couple different things there. And so if we're looking for something, we can find the category and then find the subcategory, if you will, and then be able to find all kinds of different symbols. So I will tell you there are 10,000 plus maybe tens of thousands, I'm not sure, of all of these different categories and subcategories. So if I go over here, and right now we're in symbol, we could go to emoji, go people and emotions, objects, animals and plants. Okay, there's a strawberry. That's pretty cool. So I just select whichever one I want. And if I want to select several of them, I can just keep clicking on it as often as I want to and put as many there as I'd like in an order. But the question is, what about over here? Can we do that over here if we want? So let's go ahead and click on those and let's see, strawberry. Oh, that's fun. How about this one? Let's get in there, click on it. Let's try a different category. There we go. Now we got the categories. And so right now we're in emojis. Look at all these different ones. So we have all of the Asian scripts, like if you want to work in kanji or hiragana, katakana, or one of those, you can find it there. Here's Latin, here's other European scripts. So you could find Cyrillic and some of the ancient languages. And then you have subcategories. There would be Cyrillic. So if you're going to write something out in Russian, you could find it there. That's pretty cool. So you just have so many different options here. You can spend days and years working on all of these different things. And there's a common one, historic, all kinds of cool different things. I'll just go back to common. So that's pretty cool. So in here, for example, and I still have that selected. So let me find a little spot here. How about down there? So here's where I could find lettering with like an accent mark over it if I wanted to do that. And I could do it that way, just like that. So that's pretty cool. But look at this, draw a symbol here. What the heck? Let's put a couple spaces there. Oh, there we go, a couple spaces. So I'm going to draw a symbol here. How about this? Maybe you've seen this before. All right. And immediately it's going to say, hey, is this what you want? An E or some of this other stuff? And I can go back, I can add to a little bit, but maybe I want to do this. Okay, well now I don't have to go search through all that stuff because there it is. And there's my E with an accent. How about this one? For those of us that speak Spanish or have Spanish kiddos in our names that we want to deal with. So there's the ñ. And we could do it that fast. So that is really cool so that you can find all kinds of stuff and put all kinds of neat things in there. And let's just go ahead and select this again. And just for fun, a little smiley face. You don't have to be very good at this and it will pick up on a few. And that guy looks pretty happy. We'll go ahead and select him. So now we've selected all those right down there. So that's with some special characters. That's kind of fun. We can deal with that. So up here we have, let's see what page we're on. We're page 1 of 10. Let's just go down here to about page 4. So on every top of every one of these page, we have a header that's up there. So I can click anywhere down here, but I can't click up here. Well, just like in Word, all I've got to do is just double click and it opens up the header and the footer area. And so now if I want to, I can then select part of this and change the color. Let's make it this dark blue kind of a thing. That's pretty slick. And if I want to, I can change the way that it's laid out and go back and forth. And what's interesting is it will do it to every one of the headers that are there. So let's go over here and let's take a look at something else. It says options. So there it says page numbers. So we can click on that and it opens up this little dialog box. It says, okay, where do you want it? You want it on the header? You want it on the footer? Let's put it on the footer. Show on the first page. Maybe you don't want it on the first page. Where do you want to start the numbering? You have some choices there. Let's go ahead and apply it. And now you can see here we are on page 5 of 10. And at the bottom, there's a 5. There's a 4. And by the way, with this open, and because headers and footers work the same, I can then go in there, select that, and then go use these tools here. Make it a little bit bigger. Let's make it bold. I could change the font if I want to. How about a color just for fun? Let's make it a blue color, that happy blue color. So now I click away from it and you can see it's made the change on all of the headers and footers. That's pretty cool. So we did that just by double clicking in this header area and found those options. And remember, we can find those options in other places too. So here's in the format, remove header, more options, we click on that. And so here's changing the size of the header. Maybe we want it to be, taller or smaller or something like that. So different things that we can do clicking on that. And then we go to insert and we look down, we see page numbers here. We have more options there. Click on this. And then that's the page one that we saw before when we were working over here to the right. So there's always more than one way to do something when you're working in Google Docs. And so just kind of poke around and practice for a little bit, and you can check that out. So now I've selected or clicked back, and so I can start to put something else here. Let's find another page. It's got a lot of paragraphs. Here we go. So I'm going to put my cursor here for the fun of it. And at this point, what I want to do is I want to insert a picture. So I can either go up here and insert an image, and I have all of these options of where to get it from. This is if you have a digital camera. This is if you have a web address. If you have Google Photos, you can get it from there. You might have a folder with all kinds of pictures in it in your drive. You could go there and go find it. You might have it on your hard drive of your computer, your laptop that you're working on, or you can go search on the web. Well, how did I do that? I just went to insert, image, and then there are the options. So remember that we also have our quick access toolbar here. And so we have the same thing. And so just for fun, we're going to search for something on the web, since Google is the king of all things searches, king or queen. So I'm going to type in horse. All right, I should probably spell it correctly. All right, and it's giving me several options there, but I just want horse. So I'm going to say enter, and here's a bunch of horses. And so at this point, not all of these will work. Sometimes there's pictures that that they have copyright issues or something, and it won't work. It won't show up on your page. But here's one that I've used. Google's pretty good at putting up pictures that don't give you any problems. I'm going to go ahead and select this one real quick. Now, if I just simply select one time there and go down and say insert, that's one way to do it. But that takes a little bit more work. So what I'm going to do is, well, I'm just going to double click on it. That's what I was going to tell you. Remember, single click, double click, triple click, different things happen. So this is the file size of this photo, which is why it showed up that big. Sometimes it'll be smaller, sometimes it'll even be bigger, but this one happens to be about this big. So it just threw it right there where I had my cursor. That's pretty cool. Now you'll notice the quick access toolbar looks the same as it was before until I click on this. Watch what happens. All right, so now I still have some of the features before, but now I have these other ones that have to do with working with the picture. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to make this a little bit smaller, just so it's not so big. That's pretty cool. And then if I want to, I could grab it and move it around, except for I can't. Right now, it's in line. So this down here are some of the options that we have: wrap text, break text, behind text, in front of text, and we have still some more options right there. But for our purposes, we're going to use wrap text. And why is that? Because then it allows us to move it around. So I'm just going to move it over here. Now here's one of the cool things that you can play with and practice with in Google Docs. When you go left and right, you'll see this red vertical line that shows up. If I get it to where it is and let it go, I now know that the left of this picture is equidistant to the left as it is to the right, okay? Because I went and found that red. And then as far as the top of the page, bottom of the page, if I scroll down at some point, I can also find the lateral one. And if I'm careful, I can get them both right in the middle. That doesn't concern me at this point, so I can go ahead and just move it wherever I want to, but just know that that's a cool feature that they added, and I kind of like that. Now you can see there's pictures here, and the words are going as close as they can to it. And over here, that distance is 1/8 of an inch, and that's because that's what's selected. So if we want it to be tighter, we can do that. Maybe that's a little too tight. Make it bigger, 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch is probably pretty good. So look at this, we have some different options. Move with the text. What does that mean? If I go up here and add a couple paragraphs, then it's going to stay in the middle of these paragraphs and continue down. That's probably the best one. If we want, we can fix it on the page, then the words just kind of pour past it and it doesn't move. And we have some different options there. And then we look over here, size and rotation, adjustments, all image options. We'll take a look at that in a second. But since this is selected here, let's take a look at what we have up here. So border, how about we make a black border? All right, there it is, it just showed up. How about the weight? Let's make it a 4 point so it's a little easier to see. That's kind of cool. Maybe you want it dashed. And by the way, it just said saved up here. Let's just change the weight real quick to 2 point. Saving, Wait for it. It's saved. All right, back to 4-point. Saving. Depending on how fast your internet connection is or whatever the Google servers are doing at that time, it usually takes just a second or two. And so right now, if the power fails, I still have my picture in this document and everything is saved up to this point. All right, let's look at a couple other things. So this next one says crop image. So you got some little manipulation points here. So I can say, okay, how about right there? Oh, now I've lost part of it. That's not so good. If I click away, now it's selected. I can certainly undo it. But what happens if I'm working for a couple hours down here and I come back, I'm like, no, I want that back. If I select it, look at this button, reset. Okay, so it puts it back to the very beginning of where it was, but it gives you your picture back. And for our purposes, I'm just going to undo it that way, save us a little bit of time. So there's the cropping, image options, replace image. This is pretty cool. So if I go over here to replace image, I can get it from all those different places, go to here. Since we have this all set up already the way we like it, I can go over here and type in horse again and hit enter. And then decide, you know what, maybe this is the one. Double click and give it a second. Give it a second. There it is. And so it's going to keep all the same formatting parameters that you already have. So that's a great feature. It didn't used to do that. I'm not sure when Google added that feature to it, but I'm very grateful that they did. And again, come back in a few months, even a couple of weeks, and you might find 10 new features going on in Google Docs. That's just how Google works. So that's kind of nice, but I like the other one. So I'm just going to undo it, bring back the other guy right there. So we have a little, looks like a mom and a baby, perhaps a foal and a mare. All right. So at this point, we've kind of played with this a little bit, and that's pretty cool. Let's go down and find another spot. How about right here? And maybe we want to insert something else. Let's see what our options are. Table, drawing, chart, all kinds of things that we can do here, and take a little practice and try some of these. For our purposes, we're going to do a table, and this is pretty cool. You just simply hover over whatever size you want, and it will go out all the way to 20 of them. So if you want to have 20 right there, you can. We're going to find something that's a little bit more not so big. So there we go. So now we have some table stuff that we can work with. And so at this point, all we have to do is select a few of the cells or all of them, and we can start to use some of our tools. So up here, we have a fill, background, color, which just remind me, by the way, I apologize. I'm going to go back to here. When we were talking of these options, I mentioned that there were all kinds of other options, and I forgot to click on it. If we click on this, it opens up an image options side over here. And here you can do the little expand button and size and rotation. You can change the size of this precisely right here. Lock the aspect ratio so you don't make it squat or stretched in some way. You can change up here. You got this little button here where you can move the horses around like that. Don't care for that much, so we'll put it back. But all of those things you can do in size and rotation there. Text wrapping. We saw the different options that were here, and we chose the one that says wrap text. You can see the blue line around it because that's what we're using now. Do you want it to wrap on both sides or just one side, left side, right side? Have some different options there. How close do you want the text to be to the image? All of those choices are right there. And so again, this is in the image options, opens up the image options pane. And again, you can look at position on the page, the XY coordinates. This is kind of cool, recoloring right now. It's just no color, but we can pick another one. Maybe this is what we want for some reason. That looks a little extreme. Maybe we can find one that looks more like a sunset. I don't know. Yeah, probably not. That doesn't look so hot. So we can always go back and say no recolor. But it's nice that you have those different adjustments. And so when we looked over here, we saw that it said in front of text. Well, if we did that and the text was behind it, we wouldn't be able to see it unless we made it transparent. And so let's try it about 70% right there and say in front of the text. Now this picture, wherever we move it, the text is behind it. So maybe that's a way that you want to do it. You probably wouldn't have a border around it, but it's a way that you can put an image behind your text and then just adjust the transparency. to wherever it is you think is what you want it to be. And of course, you can adjust the brightness, make it brighter, make it a lot less bright, different things you can do. And then of course, you can always reset it back to the way it was before, and then we'll just wrap the text again. So there's your image options over here. That's pretty cool. So let's go back to our table that we had here. So what we did was we selected it all and we changed the background color. And we can do that as often as we like. Maybe we want it to be like a little bit of a gray color. To move it away to see it, you can see it's just a little bit of a light charcoal color there. And a couple other things. So let's see, if we select it all, then we can go over here and we can do the border color is black. We'll keep that. As far as the weight, let's make it a little bit beefier, something like that. That looks pretty good. And there's different types that we can do. We can do dash lines and different things. You can experiment with that. Well, let's look over here for formatting. So now we go down to table, and now we can insert rows above, rows below, delete a row. We can merge cells, do different things like that. So maybe we want these cells right here to all be a single cell. Then we can certainly go up to format, go to table, and say merge cells. And now we have a different spot. Then of course we can click there, and then maybe this is one that we want to have a little bit brighter or something like that. So we can go in and use our table tools to move things around and kind of change the way things look, just like you can with a regular table. And so it just takes a little bit of practice and experimenting. Of course, there's the cursor there, so I could type something out. I'll just type out hello, and we should be able to go in here, and then once it's selected, make it bold, change the size, start to deal with the alignment of it and all of that. And all of that we're doing with the different table tools that we're using. And there's different places to find those table tools. And so just keep an eye on that. And then down at the bottom, it says table properties. All right, so then you have all of these different things that you can do at the same time. So you can change the border, the size, the background of it, and some of the alignment, like vertical alignment. And for example, you might want it in the middle. That might be good. And then whatever other choices you make, as soon as you say, okay, then there it is. And now I can make it a little bit bigger and do all of that. So it just takes a little bit of time and practice to go find where all of those different features are to deal with tables. But that's kind of fun to be able to add tables to something you're working on. Perhaps you've seen something with tables on it most recently. Oh, there we are. We're in Google Docs, and we did lots of tables. And when I need to add another row down here, I put my cursor here, and I can go up to those tools, and I can add another row or combined, like right here, I combined all those different cells into a single cell, so I could just type out September. Pretty cool. All right. So let's take a look and see what else we can do. All right. So at this point, just for fun, and let's take a look and see who we have with us here today. How about Katrina? We did this before, and if you'd be so kind to participate again. Katrina, what I'd like to do is I would like to share this with you and make you an editor so we can see what it looks like. And I'll just go up to the top because it's the first place it'll show up. So I'm going to go over here to share. Now, if this was something that I just created in my department or at my school, and I want to share it with the entire school district, I could get a link and share it with everybody in the district, and whoever has that link, they can look at it and view it and do whatever. That's one way to do it. So we can click on that, and we certainly have that option to copy the link and then email it out or put that link in a web page or something like that. And then, of course, we can make a link with anyone on the internet, just not the sandy.net people, or stated differently, those that work for our district. So we could change it in any way that we want, or we could restrict it to just the people that we're going to add up here. And so at this point, I'm going to try and type in Katrina. And let's see, I'm going to do a couple of people. I'm going to do Katrina, and I'm also going to do Becky. Let's see if Becky shows up. Come on, Becky, where are you? Which one's Becky? Becky Paradise, right? Got the right name? There you are. All right, so there's a couple of you. And at this point, I can make you just viewers, or viewers that can make comments, or I can make you editors. I'm going to make you editors so that you can type. And if I want to leave a message here, I can do that. Then all I got to do is click send. But before I do that, just notice up here in the settings, you have some options. Editors can change permission and share. So Becky and Katrina can share this document with anyone else and give them permissions for whether they can be editors themselves and so on and so forth. But that's only if this is selected. All right. And so I'm going to go ahead and leave that selected for right now. Viewers and commenters can see the option to download, print, and copy. If you have something, if you have something that you don't want people copying, maybe it's a list of students or something, and they just need to see the names or something, but you don't want them to copy it or download it, then you can deselect this and they will not be able to do that. So remember that you have those options right there in settings. But for now, we just got Katrina and Becky, and hopefully they're not preoccupied right now and they can help me with this. All right, so they now have access to this. Of course, they have to go to their drive. They'll have to open it up, and we'll give them a chance to do that while we work on some other things. But when they show up and they start working here, in fact, there's Katrina, right on cue. Thank you. Go ahead and make some changes, Katrina. You can see, and there's Becky. You can see up here, they've arrived. I'm gonna put my mouse over there so you can see what they're doing. Go ahead and just start typing somewhere and add something. Look at that. There you go. So that's kind of slick. So in real time, we can be working on this simultaneously. Just know in a multi-page document, if somebody's adding whole paragraphs or pictures or taking things away and you're working down below them, your page you're looking at is going to be jumping up and down, accommodating the changes that they make. But certainly the three of us can be working right here and making some fun changes and just right there in front of each other or whatever as we're working, and change the size and all of that. And that's pretty cool. So on their end, they'll see a cursor, probably a different color, and it'll probably say I have my name on it. But that's pretty cool when you can share it that way. So that's a lot of fun. Physical education is the best, you bet. All right, thank you for doing that. And of course, if I want to, I can always go up to share, and I can then change. Look at this, I can remove. I can also make, if I want to, in this case, Becky is the one I have highlighted, I can make them the owner, or just give them temporary access just to look at it. So you have lots of different options that are there, and that's pretty cool. So someone asked the other day, well, what if you've got like 50 people that you want to share with? Do you have to type all of those in? Well, no, actually you don't have to. You could just go copy a bunch of, in this case, Sandy.net email addresses, and then just paste them. So if you have a list of email addresses somewhere for your group, your department, your school, your staff or something, then you could just copy and paste there, and then you can decide who's going to be an editor and viewer individually. A couple of them could be editors, a couple could be viewers. So you could change it that way. So that's how the share thing works. That's pretty cool. So thank you for your help participating there. That's awesome. So at this point, we have a little bit of extra time. We've covered a number of different things and some of the basics here. And again, it's just a matter of practice to look around and see what the different features are. And again, you'll come back, a couple months ago, I came back and one of these was new. It was highlighted in blue saying, hey, look, we've got something new, and they're adding new stuff all the time. So come back and take a look at it and just kind of pop around and explore and see what is there. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to leave this open for right now. I'm going to go back to my drive where I had some other ones. And by the way, remember formatting and editing? We brought it in and it was a Microsoft Word document. We still have that. It's still here. This is the one that we created. You can see some of the coloring changes. There's the formatting up there in the header. We made it blue. And here's our little SDUSD link and all of that. So once you make a Word document into, oh, we can see someone else is working there, or it's at least just updating different colors. Thank you. Once you've made the new version, in this case in Docs, any changes you make here do not show up in the original Word. Or if I go back to the original Word and I make 50 changes here, none of those will show up because these are two separate documents. One's a Microsoft and one's a Google, but they're two separate ones now. So keep that in mind, which is why I usually just, right click, new folder, and I call it Microsoft. So whenever I have a folder I want to, or a place where I'm saving stuff like that, I want to be able to just take and put my Microsoft stuff in there. And of course I could make Adobe one and put that one in there. It's a little bit easier if I'm going to be working with multiple documents. So here's one that I want to take a look at right now. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and we're going to do the same thing we did before. It's going to open it up in Google Docs, but it's still going to be a Microsoft Word document. All right, we talked about this before, that you could lose some things if you edit and make changes in this format. So here we have something that we use in our Microsoft Word class. And this is just happens to be quotes for some famous authors, happens to be 4 of them. And so here's William Cuthbert Faulkner, then biographical information. He was American writer, Nobel Prize laureate, blah, blah, blah. And then here's some quotes from The Sound and the Fury, 1929. As I Lay Dying, Absalom, Absalom. And then down here it says Ernest Miller Hemingway, and biographical information, American novelist, short story writer, da, da, da. And then quotes from a few of his books, and then Alexander Dumas and all of that. Well, we're going to use this to demonstrate how to make a table of contents, and how to make a table of content really quickly with like a couple of clicks. The only way that we can do that is if we're using something called styles. So you'll notice if I click anywhere on here, yeah, this part I did add bold and italic, and I even indented the quotes so it looked a little bit nicer or whatever. But I haven't made too many changes here, but they're most definitely all normal text. Everywhere that I click, it says normal text. Well, what are the options? Well, we've got a title. We have a title there. Maybe we can use this. Subtitles, if we had one, headings 1, 2, and 3, and other options available. And so we can use some of this stuff, but we're going to use these 4 authors spread out over about 4 pages, and we're going to demonstrate how to use this. And we're going to go fairly quickly. Just remember this will be in the video, and you can always go back and take a look at it again. Again, this is something that works in Word far more powerfully, and if you come to our Word class or our Microsoft Word class, or watch the Microsoft Word video, then it will show you how to do some incredible formatting things very quickly using the styles, something that are not available in Google Docs, but we can do some basics. So here we are on the first page. I'm going to put my cursor right here, and I'm going to just do Control Enter. What just happened? That's the fastest way to add a new page. You put your cursor at the top, you do Control Enter, and it kicks everything down 1 page. That's pretty cool. That's a lot better than hitting Enter, 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 trying to get it all the way down. That's a pretty fast way to do that. Why did I do that? Because that's where our table of contents is going to go when we're done. But for right now, let's just put our cursor anywhere in the middle of that, and let's take a look up here at what styles we do have. So we have a title. So there we go. That's the title style. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use headings 1, 2, and 3. We're going to use a heading 1 on William Faulkner. So let's go ahead and go up here and do a heading 1. And you'll notice it's blue and kind of big. We'll do a heading 2 on biographical. And there's a reason we're doing this. And then on the quotes, put the cursor down here, and we're going to do a heading 3. So just like in right here, you can see that heading 1's bigger than 2 and 2's bigger than 3 and all that. That's kind of the basics. Is that a big deal? Not really. Are there some things you can do with using the headings? Absolutely. The headings are associated with the outline levels. So the heading 1, the author, is an outline level 1. The heading 2 is an outline level 2, and a heading 3 is an outline level 3. Are there headings 4, 5, and 6? Yes, they keep going, and you can keep using those. So let's just go down here to another quote, and oh my gosh, I'm in the, I'm still in the Microsoft one. I apologize. That does happen. So how about we just do this real fast? We go back to where we were, go to here, and it would probably still work because we're already in Docs, but let's not do that. Let's get all the way over. Aha, so there we go. So again, just as fast as this, use a keyboard shortcut. We do Control Enter. We've made a space for our table of contents. I'm going to click somewhere on this and go and hit it with the title. I'm going to do the outline level 1 or heading 1 right here. For the author's name, biographical information is going to be a heading 2, and then the quote's going to be a heading 3. So once you've done this a few times, it's just that fast. And we're going to show you exactly why. All right, so I've got a few more quotes to do, a few more of these other ones. But before I do that, over here on the left is this little icon. It says Document Outline. Let's take a look at that. Wow. So it says quotes from famous author. That sounds familiar. And then there's the author's name, biographical information, and a couple of the quotes. Well, let's go down and add one more quote to it and change it to a heading 3. And there it is. So remember I said a heading 1 is an outline level 1. It's furthest to the left. A heading 2 is outline level 2, so it's indented 1. And then a quote is an outline level 3. So in our outline here, we can see that all these quotes are subordinate of this level, and all these levels are subordinate of that level. So that's pretty cool. Let's just go ahead and continue here, because I'm going to show you something really slick you can do. So again, with a little practice, we can say heading 1's for the author's name, heading 2 for the biographical information, and the quotes are heading 3. And now half of our document's done, almost. Let's get heading 3 right here. And you could use the paintbrush thing here to do all of the heading 3s and all of the heading 2s. I was practicing with that earlier today, and it was a little sketchy. Sometimes it was only doing half of like the whole section here instead of all of it. So I'm going to just do it the long way here. It'll only take a minute. So there's a heading 1, there's a heading 2, and there's the first quote, Count of Monte Cristo. Just started reading that again. What a great book. And Three Musketeers. Go to a heading 3. And then our last author, Victor Marie Hugo, is a 1. Biographical is a heading 2. And as I'm doing this, you're seeing it line up over here. Absolutely. Because that's what this is about. It has the outline levels. So let's just go down to heading 3 for the quotes. And I think that's it. So now our document is done in the sense that we have added the styles to it. Okay, well, great, Mr. J. It changed it to blue for, outline level 1s, or the heading 1s are a little bit bigger than the 2s, and they're a little bit bigger than the 3s. But that's not that exciting. Well, this is a navigation page. Watch this. Oh, you want to go to Ernest Miller Hemingway? There you go. Victor Marie Hugo? There you go. Back up to the top. There you go. Want to see quotes from the Count of Monte Cristo? There they are. And so it's a navigation thing, which is pretty helpful. And that's kind of slick. But there's some other things you can do, and you're fairly limited with Google Docs, but let's just take a look. So for example, if I go here to Ernest Miller Hemingway, and by the way, that's the second of 4 authors, and I change all of this and decide to make it red, I can do that. And then if I go to the heading 1 and I say update heading 1 to match, now all of the authors are in red. So without having to, so say you had a document that's 100 pages long, and that would be helpful if you're doing a table of contents, which is what we're building towards, to be able to use these tools. And you wanted to change those headings, and let's say you wanted to make them bigger. So again, you could just pick one, and we could say, make it size 25 or 6. How about 26? That's too big. How about just 20? That's a little bit bigger. And then we can go here and say, update heading 1 to match. Now all of them are going to be that big. That should be the way that this works. All right. So those are just some things that you can do with that. I'm going to undo the heading changes because I want them to stay their default. So I'm just back spacing a few times. I made a few changes there. Okay, so now we're back to normal. Want to keep those normal. In Microsoft Word, when you change a heading style, it will stay that way even in the next document unless you tell it not to. And so I'm simply just trying to avoid having to do this in another document a little bit later. But here we go. It looks a little bit different. Yeah, we can do some adjusting, and sure, I can change, all the biographical information headers in every section, a heading 2, just by changing one of them. I can change them all instantly just by updating the headings. That's pretty cool. But here's where it gets really slick. So here's our extra page up at the top. We're kind of lined up on the left because that's where the center rather, because that's where the title was. I'm going to go ahead and just change the alignment. Now, let's put a table of content in here. And how do we make that? Well, the easy way is to go up to Insert, go down to Table of Contents, and now we can do it in one of two ways, either just a regular printed way or with the links on it, kind of like you would on a web page. Let's go ahead and just select this one for now. Boom, just that fast. Now in this document, we don't have page numbers, but we know how to do that. We can just double click up here, go to Options, Page Numbers, position, put them on the footers, start with 1, sure, why not? There we go. And again, we know we can change the formatting of that if we want to, but now we can see that William Faulkner certainly doesn't start on page 1. That's where the table of contents are. It starts over here, and that's pretty cool when have the table of contents just done that quickly. So those are the basics of using styles. It's fairly limited compared to Microsoft Word, but at least you can do that. And if you're doing a 10-page document for something, this is the best way for doing the table of contents. Pretty straightforward. All right. So at this point, I believe we've covered everything that we wanted to cover in our regular portion of this training. And so we'll say goodbye to those that are done watching this part. And we're going to open it up for Q&A in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and just end the recording. So give me a second. Thank you so much for being here today, and we appreciate you coming to learn about Google Docs.